Karen.
Can you guys check that it's on YouTube?
Yep, it is.
It is. All right. I can turn this off then. Otherwise, I get this loop where you hear me hearing them, hearing everyone. So we're live on. So shall I kick off the proceedings? Emma,
Yes.
you're on penny pay. Wow. All right. So
are you going to share the presentation, or should I?
Which would you prefer? I can be the controller of the presentation if you wish. If that helps.
Yeah.
Let me slideshow that, and I think we can do a round robin. We've got lots of good people here, right? So I'm going to share the screen, and there you are. Does that work? Can you all see that?
Yes, I can see it.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you everybody for turning up today. This is the first Asia Pacific time zone capital market special interest group, and I'm very excited that we have Vipin here, who is the chair, and we also have Karen. Maybe I'll say a few words about them first, right? So Vipin is the chair of the Capital Markets Special Interest Group. He's also the chair, I believe, of the Identity Working Group. I've been, ever since the beginning of Hyperledger, Vipin has always been here. So he was at the first meeting, I believe, right, of the first kind of public meeting of Hyperledger back in the end of 2015, 2016. Every single global event, I always see Vipin with his trademark hat. So Vipin is an expert in, I think we can say that, in capital markets, has a I think 30+ year career. He worked, I think he joined originally with BNP. He bought BNP, who joined Hyperledger with Vipin. He now has his own company at DLT.NYC. He also is, you may not, if you ever read an interesting Forbes article, he is a contributor to Forbes, and he writes some very interesting material on that. But really, I have to thank Vipin for his contribution into the community, right? Very much a leader. He's led this since 2018, I think, and I think maybe even 2016, 2017, the Identity Working Group. So Vipin's going to go through a presentation today, take us through, where we are with the SIG, where we have been, where we are, where we want to go to, and a kind of call to action to people get involved. And there's a lot of material there. Also, I'd like to mention Karen, who is part of the Hyperledger staff. She is our director for ecosystems globally. She's also very much the fabric, no pun intended, within Hyperledger. And she is also taking on a role very much in the capital markets area, CBDCs, a lot of what we do, CBDCs. She's the lead within Hyperledger, and is doing some very interesting work in kind of open source world in CBDCs. So thank you, Karen. And both of you, I really appreciate you getting up, because I know in New York, it's about 10 or 11 at night now. So we really, really appreciate that. I need to say a few housekeeping things first. This is a Linux Foundation meeting, so we are under Open Trust policy. Please look at the website if you want to know more about Open Trust policy. Also, everyone's welcome. So we want to make sure we do have rules of engagement for everyone. We very much believe in diversity. The more diverse, the stronger our community. So please, do the normal things, be civil, be inclusive in these meetings, just standard stuff, right? So those are the two housekeeping things that I'm now going to, I think, pass. Okay, and I'm the VP for Hyperledger for Asia Pacific.
Yeah, I was going to say, Julian, you got to introduce yourself.
Exactly.
Or would you like me to do that?
You could do. You could do that if you want, but I think I could say that I'm here in Hong Kong. I'm the VP for Hyperledger, and yes.
Julian really, is a leader of our community in APAC. Is tireless in helping support our community in the APAC region, and really ready to help anyone who wants to get started in the Hyperledger community, connect to the Hyperledger community. His team that's based in Hong Kong and Korea and China as well, speaks local languages. So we're really here and ready to support this community and bring more of the capital markets content to this region that we have happening at Hyperledger. So Julian is certainly a force in doing that.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very, very much. And I love the view out the back of your window.
My fake window, yes.
So you have a great view. That's a great apartment there in New York with that view. And is that Manhattan or Brooklyn? That's Brooklyn, isn't it?
It's a bridge to Brooklyn, yeah. Although I am actually in Brooklyn and I look at Manhattan. So.
And our first member summit, and I think where I met Vipin was in Brooklyn at the meeting we had back 5 years ago at Hyperledger. Okay, so now I'm going to pass over to Bipin. So Bipin, please take it from here. I think, how many people do we have a good group here. Do you want to organize a quick introduction of everyone in the group? Or shall we just go straight into the content? How do you want to do that, Bipin?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the number of participants. Usually it's difficult when there are more than 10 or 15. It gets to be lengthy in terms of introductions.
So maybe everyone could just put that in the chat. Can people just introduce themselves, and then if we have time later, we'll go to individual people.
Indeed. So first, I would like to thank Karen for being the point of contact of the Hyperledger Capital Markets SIG. So I would ask her to say something about, what is a SIG, a special interest group, and in the structure of, these groups under Hyperledger is very important because.
Yeah.
So please, Karen.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Vipin. That's a great idea to level set a little bit. So we have a number of different groups at Hyperledger Foundation. Some of them center along different industries, like our special interest groups, like capital markets, but we have many others that are all open for anyone to participate and join in. Just like you are here today, you are welcome to join and the meetings and participate in any of the other groups at Hyperledger as well. We have trade finance, supply chain, climate action, public sector, etc. You can find information about all these other groups on our website and also on our wiki as well. Our wiki is where our groups kind of do the work and engage. So afterwards, Vipin will share the meeting notes and recording of this meeting on the wiki for the Capital Markets SIG. We also have other groups at Hyperledger, working groups. So these are a little bit more technical in nature. They focus on the architecture of Hyperledger technologies or some key technical topics like the identity one that Vipin also chairs. And then we also have broader groups that align along different languages or regions. So we have an India chapter, Latino America chapter, and then beyond that, many, many meetups worldwide. What makes our special interest groups, for lack of a better word, special, is this is really where we're coming together globally, right? Anyone across the world who's interested in this industry and the topics under this industry can come together to share your use cases, talk about your what you're building or what your challenges are and what you're building, or your successes. Obviously, that's another thing that we want to hear about, is how has using Hyperledger technologies worked for you, and how can you share your lessons learned with the rest of the community. So that's really what our special interest groups are all about. So this is the home for capital markets and kind of more generally some of the just financial services discussions that happen at Hyperledger. We are obviously we have people who have been in this community for a long time, but you know, it doesn't matter whether you've been here for 5 minutes or for 5 years. You're welcome, and we value your participation and your input into what you're seeing happening in the DLT and blockchain space along the lines of this industry.
Thank you, Karen. So we are just going to do a sort of an overview of what the capital markets SIG is, which Karen already alluded to. The other parts are, why should we get involved? You know, this is obviously a viewpoint from my perspective, but you know, obviously different people have different motivations. Then we go into the resources that we have and how people can engage with capital markets, with Hyperledger, with the Linux Foundation, and so on. And to give a flavor of what we talk about from topics from last year, then just a indication of the roadmap. Then, you know, I've said Q&A, but it could be people from this group saying what they would want to do in capital markets. So the first thing I have to say is we decided that we split the calls between New York time, you know, between New York, US, Europe friendly time and APAC friendly time, because there's a lot of activity happening in APAC in capital markets, and it would be a pity if we missed engaging with APAC on capital markets. Julian, could you go to the next slide, which, you know, obviously just talks about the same thing that Karen talked about, which is capital markets represents industry professionals. So it's like a big tent. Capital markets is a big tent because it contains, as you can see from the next slide, that it you know, as Julian takes us to the next slide, you can see that it's a way to connect investors and borrowers for long-term provision of capital. So basically, it is how you use your hard-earned money, or, you know, a company's hard-earned money to invest in others' productive into productive uses. Speculation, of course, enters the picture, but you know, this is mostly about how, as a society, we can leverage capital to productive use. And of course, it is the intersection of this big tent with blockchains, and in particular, the Hyperledger projects based blockchains that we are here to talk about. Julian, could you go to the next slide? So why should you get involved? This is my viewpoint. Discover, you know, like-minded people, have some kind of a network, and keep up with the space. This is a very important reason why you should get involved. So because the space is so vast and always changing, lots of new ideas, lots of new products, lots of new projects coming up. So it's very difficult to keep track of all this. So if you get involved in capital market SIG, you can get, a broader view of the market. The third thing is to give back, which means basically to contribute. And in contributing, you also learn, because when you're actually doing stuff, either making a presentation, writing a paper, or actually creating a project in labs and taking it forward, you become aware of nuances. Julian's favorite word, nuances, because you're not going to just say, stay at the top level. If you want to stay at the top level, that's okay. So let's now go to the next slide and see what our resources are, which are basically regular calls. And that is a link that will take you to the list of all the meetings that we had last year and even this one. The other one is a wiki page. That is the main landing page of the capital market SIG. The main landing page will take you to every other page. And obviously it is within the Hyperledger. It's housed within the Hyperledger wiki itself, which is on a higher level, and you can traverse the wiki to go to the different SIGs, different working groups, and so on. Rocket Chat, we have tried to go to other platforms, but we are still in Rocket Chat. It's for discussions, mostly technical, asking questions, getting answers in an asynchronous manner. And email lists of the capital markets group is also another place where you can ask questions, and if people know the answer, they'll get back to you. Then we go in slightly more deeper into the project space, which is we have about 11 different projects, going from talking about taxonomy, talking about regulation, talking about standards. Usually you go to another page for tokenization. And now I have actually started a conversation about NFTs. People may say, what is the relationship of NFT to capital markets? You can say that, NFTs are the initial sort of assets that were sold because they are unique. And when people invested in those, then they were able to reap the benefits of somebody else's work, which is one of the criteria for the Howey test, which is how you distinguish between a security and a non-security, which we've been going through this during the ICO years. But anyway, that's projects. Then you have the subgroups. We've started 2 subgroups. One is the insurance subgroup, and the other is the mortgage subgroup, which has started just recently. And they have their own meetings, and they are dealing with a very, a subset of our capital markets, which are mortgages. And as you know, mortgages are highly complex debt capital market instruments. And the discussion in that subgroup is mostly related to mortgages. And that subgroup will have a separate meeting schedule. Right now, since the principals are in, the chair and so on are in California, they have a meeting scheduled. The next meeting is scheduled to be on Thursday, and you can look at the calendar and get on that meeting. I don't know how easy it is for a person in Hong Kong or a person in Australia or Far East or in China to get on that, because it's going to be not at a good time. And this is the reason why we moved this meeting, we split it and made one of them APAC friendly. The last item is labs, which is actually more on the technical side. So like Karen said, the working groups are more technical, but many of the SIGs have created technical solutions that are rooted in their silo, but at the same time are something practical. Like, for example, Mani, who's on the call, and myself, we created a CBDC called eThaler, which is, the code is there in the labs and it can be used by anyone because it's open source and it's under the Apache license. So what happened there is that eThaler was used by the climate SIG to implement a totally different token. So the reuse of any resource that you contribute also takes it into another dimension. And this is the beauty of open source. Can you go to the next slide? So from last year, we had several topics. You can see there, CBDC, Karen is the go-to person for CBDC in Hyperledger. Then you have financial market infrastructure, tokenization, debt capital markets, regulation, standards, and institutionalization. So if you look at the 26 or so meetings that we have had, it covers all of these topics. So anybody who's interested can actually go back to those meetings and listen to them. And some of them are extremely relevant today, right? And in the, we are actually keeping up with the latest developments in DeFi, in automated market making, and so on, because these new ways of doing things utilize familiar, like Julian says, they are the similar things that have existed before, but in new form. So obviously, the knowledge and the expertise that has been gained when dealing with regular capital markets can be used to analyze and to look at DeFi and to make it, how does DeFi become more institutionalized? That was a talk we had from Bancor, Mark Richardson. Bancor was one of the first DeFis, and they don't want to be in the wild west. They want to widen the aperture, make it more acceptable and adaptable in the world. Now that we've gone through these, I would be eager to hear from the participants and from Julian or others about the path that we are taking and how we can keep moving forward. right?
Yeah.
So
Do you want to discuss that now, or do you want to go back to that?
yeah, we can discuss that, or we can go to the next topic. You seem to have added some more stuff there, or is it in the next slide? I saw the.
No, this is
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, we already spoke
We've already
about
covered that, right?
Yeah, we already covered most of this. I mean, we could dive into any particular topic here, but I think it is more useful to talk about what is in it for the participants in the APAC region, and who's going to lead some of those calls, who's going to be the collaborators, the people who are going to contribute. That might be a useful discussion to have. And you know, Julian, you have your fingers in all of these different projects that are happening there. You should be able to tell us more, or maybe the ways to throw it open to the people who are participating on the call.
Okay, so I think that was a great overview, right? And I think Vipin and me discussed before. There's so much. We don't need to reinvent many wheels, right? There's a lot of stuff there already, right? A lot of great material, and we have, in the wiki, there's a bunch of information already there, right? So maybe what we can do is, if anyone wants to speak out of any of the projects. I know some people have approached me already, right, about some of the things they would like to involve. Maybe we can go a little bit around the table. Do you think that, Vipin, would that be good? And maybe a few people talk about what they're doing, and they're interested in capital markets. You don't have to say, or maybe just put your hand up if you want to put your hand up, or I can quite cruelly pick people out. I'm quite good at that. So
tell us what brought you here today.
Yeah. So yeah, let's do that. So maybe we'll start with and maybe David. I know that I've had a few chats with David about this subject area. So maybe Dave, do you want to talk about who you are and your interest?
So I'm David Francis. I head up a small consultancy. We really look at crypto and crypto regulations being compliant. So very much to Vipin's point about the majority of people that I work with and engage with and chat with, they really want to work in a sector which is certain, and certainty with institutions is a big thing as well. So certainty about regulations, about the laws, what they can do, what they can't do, and also to try and make sure that the marketplace they operate within, whether it's in the crypto derivative space, whether it's in the spot, the clearing, exchange, DeFi gaming, is actually free from bad actors, and how to make sure that their counterparties can be trusted and give that trust to the clients. What really brought me here today and has brought me to Julian's door and to Vipin's door is how can I help? Very much that whilst there is a lot going on already, and I'm 20 years in banking, 25 years in law, what I also am mindful is that what we don't want is the old world to be taking over the new world, and all we're doing is repeating what we did in traditional financing, and therefore then it's going to exclude some of the really innovative technologies and the innovative people that are out there as well. So for me, financial inclusion, not just about people who already got a bank account or institutions already into this, can continue to do it, but how can we bring it about to make it a better applications for the world and for other people who so far maybe have not really had the advantages of traditional banking, but really can leverage some of these technologies. So sorry if there's a bit of a monologue there, but that's why I'm here. I really want to help and work with some really diverse thinkers globally and locally.
Yeah, thank you, David. And we've had good conversations about that, me and David, right? Really about the world that we have, this crypto kind of stablecoin CBDC world, right? And then we have the traditional world as well. So how's that all going to work, right? things like ISDA standards, are those going to apply? It's a very interesting world. And actually, David, we did explore maybe we could look maybe as a group, maybe write a paper about the position of capital markets, right, at the very highest level. What are the opportunities? What are the challenges? Rather than, I believe in NFTs, or I believe in one area. What's the holistic, right? And how's that going to apply from the traditional world to the non-traditional world we have today, right? And how are those two going to merge? Is it binary between the two? We live in a very interesting times, right? So thank you, David. Maybe I'll pass it over to someone like Emil. Do you want to say a few words? Emil, you're in Penny's Bay in quarantine, you say right now.
Because of the situation. So I got stuck here for almost a week now. Then hopefully I can go home next week and stay there, close to you.
Yes.
We are neighbors, Julian and me. Wow. Like Julian just said, I'm interested in looking into the convergency of how the new world and the old world merged. So I was a banker, and I work in the banking industry for more than 25 years. So I was the head of IT and operations for a bank called Bayerische Landesbank from Germany. And I'm now a adjunct professor teaching EMBA, particularly fintech. So I'm here. One of the major reasons is to look for how to make good use of financial inclusion and ESG to transform the traditional financial system to the new one. To me, the Southeast Asia is actually a big sandbox for the new system to try out, where there are much lesser restriction or interested party that we can perhaps extend the CBDC system that China is trying out. But I have to say, like the project called Barcon, of Cambodia, may be a very good example for the rest of Southeast Asia to model. So once is established, I think Asia will be a new world. Particularly, there are so many peoples, and the AI engine and the ESG solutions, can be realized much faster than the developed country. So that's my point of view.
Interesting you bring up Bakong, because that was our first presentation of 2021, where the creators of Bakong came on to the Hyperledger Capital Markets SIG, and they gave a presentation. In fact, you can go to that presentation, and they talk about not only the general structure of Bakong, but they also talk about the architecture and so on. So it's even Makoto Takamiya, who's actually the CEO of Soramitsu, was on the call.
Beautiful.
Anyway.
Actually, Daniel and I is working in a project. We are I am the strategic partner for a project called Fufa Ventures. So we actually have projects in Cambodia. So we will be very interested to see, whether we can make good use of these kind of initial projects, and to provide some actual use case so that we can go further. So perhaps Julian, you might ask Daniel to elaborate more.
Yeah, so maybe I'll move to, yes, and I'm unaware of that. So we're happy to connect you with Soramitsu and all the work they're doing there, right? That would be wonderful. Yeah, so segue to Daniel.
Oh, right. I'm really a novice in capital market or in Hyperledger, but we have our, like Emil said, we are, in a way, we also both volunteer for couple of professional body in Hong Kong. One of them is actually Smart City Consortium. Emil chairs the FinTech committee, and whereas I chair the research committee. So in my spare time, I'm actually I do write a lot of papers. One of them that will be soon to be released together with, it's more a report though, it's with KPMG. So I've actually spoke about the wider use of blockchain, obviously, in different contexts. But I think in I'm learning, obviously, the digital currency in terms of, on emerging markets and the unbanked. One of the real business case that we know of, and Emil and I are working with a host, is it's in the apparel business. So there's a lot of and in Cambodia, we all know that one of the big problem is actually payroll, and they used to, one of the real cases is they used to have the lifeguard, sorry, not bodyguards, when it's time to do payroll, and then you need life bodyguards to really give them the money for the workers, and this is and a lot of money actually go right back to whatever commitment, obligations, or loans that they have, right? So anyway, so I think the countries like Cambodia, where there's real use cases from the buy side and sell side, so I mean, whoever is actually the firms, they actually want to see they have real use cases that can use the digital currency. So this is where I'm coming in. But and on the other hand, I'm very interested on the Hyperledger Fabric side on Wipin's proposal on the NFT, because I am a founder and CEO of an art tech company. But I'm not so much interested in the speculative purchase or the very speculative market right now in terms of NFTs, but I'm looking at from technology how it can be actually applied for financial inclusion, unbanked, and equitable income for artists. Yeah, so there you go.
That's right. So Vipin, how would one get involved in that project, right? So
I have the project is going to be proposed as a lab, and it is actually linked to from our projects page, which if you when you look at the slides that we shared, the projects page has a link. But I'm eager to hear from people like Karen.
yeah, so we'll go on now to Karen. So you've got pans up. So Karen's next,
Yeah.
right? Karen,
Hi, Julian. So
Hi.
we met at Hong Kong FinTech Week, and during the venue, I think Digital Asset, the company that I work for, we presented like 2 use cases. One of them is using both Hyperledger Fabric and also Hyperledger Vesu. So it's and also I think Daniel and Emil talked about inclusion. That's also a project with tokenization of retail green bond. So hit a few of the spots. So among all the list. So starting from that project, I think among the list that of the topics and subgroups, from digital asset or enterprise blockchain point of view, I think we'll be very interested to speak about or learn from everyone about tokenization. I think in the group that I also saw like Davicius and also and Musha from Market Note, and I think a lot of companies are driving the tokenization and the standardization of that, and also ISO standards. So that's when pushing for real implementation, what the industry will be moving into, and of course how what you mentioned about how enterprise world and also DeFi connected. We are working on a project with Goldman Sachs potentially expanding to this area. So all this, I think we will be very interested in speaking about, and also to learn, of course, to drive as a group and to see whether there could be further standardization.
Excellent, excellent. So I loved your presentation, right? With the green bonds is obviously a great one, some great case studies from digital assets. So I think at some point I'd love you or somebody with digital to share that with the group, right? Because I think those are great areas, right?
and the interoperability between both Hyperledger Fabric and Vesu.
Exactly. It's very, very cool. Definitely, we'll have to have that, right?
Thank you. I think so too.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen. And then I think I'm time-wise, and next to Kamlesh.
Yeah, hi Julian. Yeah, hi.
Okay.
So, actually, I'm following VPN and the climate capital market group for a long time, and whenever I see the interesting topic, I join the topic. Interested group because we are testing.
I can't hear you so well. Can you?
New product solution in a capital market. Hyperledger Fabric, and there are some kind of tokenization and also some tokenization on this green bonds or a carbon credit kind of thing. Also, I quite the financial services in India and talk to the banks and even RBI sometimes to CBDC kind of front. So that is a good to market, and VPN actually put lots of trending details in the capital market.
All right, thanks. By the way, Kamlesh is famous. Kamlesh is on our technical steering committee. Who's our core and heart and core. He's voted on to our technical steering committee, right? So he's very key. He's also co-chair of our Indian chapter. So, but I think we had a few sound problems there, Kamlesh, so we didn't hear exactly what you were talking about, but I think what you're talking about, I know the work that Snapper are doing around, things like tokenization and things that are happening in India. We're all very interested, I think, to find out exactly what the RBI is doing in terms of CBDCs. So that's of interest, and definitely, you're right. I think those are some of the subject areas. So maybe Saeed, do you want to talk next? Our famous fintech person here in Hong Kong.
Thanks, Julian. Not so famous, just trying to do something for the community. Nice to meet everybody. I'm Mushir Ahmed, founder of FinStep Asia. We're a venture builder and a strategy consulting firm. I'm one of the co-founders of the FinTech Association of Hong Kong, which was started in 2017, also led the association as its inaugural general manager. My interest is, I come from the capital markets world. Prior to being with the association, I was a trader in the futures world for 9 years, and also worked with Grace Park Partners, who specialize in capital markets consulting. That's where I got exposure to blockchain, actually, with their report on blockchain and capital markets in 2015. So that's where my engagement has been. Great topics, looking forward to contributing. I do think there is a lot of progress that's going to happen in the coming years, especially the next 2 years, where traditional finance will overlap with decentralized finance in the metaverse and other places. It'll be very interesting on how we can incorporate, blockchain and bring in traditional players into things like staking and other things. I also believe this year we will see the move from the speculative element of NFT, which has been art and music largely, but more so art, into a real world, where we can assign real world assets to NFTs and be used in capital markets. So I look forward to contributing to that. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Yuval. We have a great knowledge base here, right? Thank you, Mushir. That's a look. Thank you. And maybe I'll move to Tanu next. From Mindtree, one of our members in India.
Hi, everybody. So thanks, Julian. So quickly, just to run, it was an interesting discussion, and I really am glad to be here and listen to this. And so a quick, I want to share that Mindtree this year in 2022, it's going to invest heavily for the blockchain practice. So these are some of the mega trends which we are interested to go ahead and invest and go along with the Hyperledger wherever. So why I'm showing this is I see many interest within the team, within the audience, to go ahead and start do some some POCs or building up something to for the go-to market for the clients or the customers. So we are open to work along with whatever the topics, or whether it is the digital identity, or it's a Web 3.0 or CBDC or trade finance, the NFT, and I hear for the crypto NFT, even for the digital health passport, which we recently launched based on this digital identity thing. And we are working with Eveneem for this. So we are happy to, go for the joint partnership for any of the topic which is mentioned here. So that's all from my end. And also I'm eager to join. Vipin, we interacted long before, probably in 2019, I remember, for some of the topics, but for some reason I dropped and engaged within this back to organization thing. But we are ready back to contribute, to lead some of the SIGs as well going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Santanu. And we've had a discussion, me and him, about all the great work that they're doing. And I think actually there's an interest to contribute, right, and be very much involved in the open source community, right? That's a great advocate for it. So thank you.
It'll be great to get your input into the digital identity piece, because the situation in when you're making
Absolutely.
any sort of solution, is that you have to bring together all these different things in order to make it work. Even in the capital markets situation, you need identity, you need tokenization, you need payment rails, you need FMI, you need so no solution stands by itself. Anyway, instead of talking, I think we should probably listen to Varun.
So next Varun, please. Yes.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. This is Varun here. Am I audible? Clear? Loud and clear?
Yes. We
Fantastic.
can hear you.
Yeah. So this is one of the New Year resolution to meet like-minded people, and I think you can mention that you meet a lot of like-minded people. So I think this is a great start for my 2022. So I'm primarily a blockchain consultant working with the Malaysian fintech, where we are actually building a security token platform, for capital markets, a digital fundraising platform. So my idea to join this meeting today was to understand what's the Hyperledger, roadmap for security tokens, tokenization thing, right? Because very niche area, very regulated stuff. So what I've seen so far is, security tokens, in capital market generally use public blockchains. I think I just wanted to also understand, what is Hyperledger doing in that space. So I think quite interesting. I see a lot of, stalwarts of blockchain in this group. So I'm pretty sure that, I think the learning curve will be very steep. And also, I think another area of interest is ESG. I think a lot of traction is there. I think Karen also, really mentioned that. So that is one of the aspects we are also looking at on how do you, help companies to realize their ESG goals, right? In terms of, green bonds or any other sustainability kind of KPI linked bonds. So that is another, area of interest for me to understand what Hyperledger is doing that. And again, this is my first meeting with Hyperledger. I've always been, liking the post on LinkedIn. Never got a chance to, join the meeting. So I think I look forward to contributing wherever I can in terms of my expertise in security token space, and of course learn from the wisdoms of all the leaders in this space. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Varun. And it's good to have someone from KL, right? Are you in KL?
I was supposed to be in KL, but thanks to COVID, I'm back in India, Bangalore. Yeah.
You're in Bangalore, right? Excellent. So, well, thank you. Yes, I think security tokens will be wonderful, and we look forward to your expertise as well, right? To sharing that. So thank you for coming along. And as we say, everyone is welcome. Next, I think I have no more hands up. I may choose one or two people, right? Nelson, do you want to quickly say hello, Nelson from Oracle?
Hi, Julian. Yep. So, hello everyone. I'm Nelson. Work with Julian for years. Okay, and actually I start this topic with Julian and learn from him a lot last month when we have lunch together. In fact, we are also hearing quite a lot of projects around Asia regarding to the NFT, where the retailers want to keep the record of the owners of the products in NFT, in motors, in also jewelry industries. At the same time, we're also hearing some requests from different countries. The central bank are looking for the advice. I think some of them are not implementing yet, but still looking for advice. Like those in Indonesia and other countries, they're looking for advice how they can implement this at the moment. So we want to hear and learn from the expert in the call to also understand the trends and all the market size. So that's the purpose for joining this community.
Thank you, Nelson. And shall I pick on market node? Bunwei, do you want to quickly say something?
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly. Yes.
Yeah. Hi. I'm Bunhui from MarketNode. We are based in Singapore. MarketNode essentially is a JV by SGX and Temasek. Currently, we are embarking into the fixed income space, trying to provide digital post-trade services to the market. We are very new in Hyperledger, so looking forward to learning from everyone here and see what lessons we can retrieve out of that and also contribute back to the community. Thanks.
Thank you. And yeah, MarketNode is great. So I think that's a great initiative, right? Great JV. So I'm looking forward to hearing more from you. And thank you. Thank you for attending today. Anyone else want to speak? Joseph or Angel, Alban or Debash? You don't have to. I don't need to enforce it. So you can just, all right. Devashish, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, hi. So I am Bunhui's colleague. We work for MarketNode.
All right, yes.
I lead the delivery and agile practice for MarketNode, and I think we are choosing Hyperledger as a fabric. We are here to learn, and right now we are grappling with some really basic questions like where to get talent, if we want to hire, there are things that we are looking for, and it's a rare commodity in the market. So we are grappling with some very, very basic questions right now. And I think both of us, we are looking forward to this forum to see how you can give us pointers, where to look for talent, where to build our networks and do things properly. So glad to be with everyone.
Excellent, thank you. And I think that speaks to something that, apart from the problem about success is demand and supply, right? So, yeah, we definitely this is a place for talent. But I think Vipin talked about earlier about the fact that you have best kind of standards for deploying, just the basic deploying Hyperledger Fabric, all these kind of things, at the more kind of nuts and bolts. You were talking about, we have kind of specifics to the capital market space. Do you want to talk to that, Vipin?
Yeah, I mean, if you look in the labs, Hyperledger labs,
yeah,
there are some projects that are targeted towards operationalizing Hyperledger Fabric. So if you are interested in those, either you go to those labs, and it's they're very powerful because they wrap everything, and you're able to quickly bring up networks, bring them down, do tuning, all that stuff. So I mean, I've been using them extensively, so I know something about them in another project, and there were guys here, I don't see money anymore, but he's another stalwart. He has done a lot of work, not so much in the fabric space, but he's created his own It's almost like a complete financial market infrastructure, post-trade, settlement, custody, everything. So you need to think about all those things. You can't, most of the guys who do this releasing ICOs and so on, they do not think about what happens later. They use the public infrastructure like Ethereum, but you need to be able to manage the asset through its entire life cycle, which is much more difficult than you think, especially upgrading, doing security analysis, doing scaling, performance and scaling, like what happens if the network grows. All of these things have to be looked at. This is what I'm saying. I mean, in the beginning, people are afraid. They think, this is like boiling the ocean. We need to only look at our, whatever our solution is. But your solution exists in the real world, and it needs all of these different aspects to be taken care of. I mean, you can take care of them using the tools that are already available, which is the beauty. The standards, you have to adopt the ones that are there. You shouldn't be reinventing this stuff. And that is the key point. You cannot get away from complexity, but you can handle complexity by looking at what other people have done. And you can't run away from complexity, because once you release a real solution into the world, it is a wild. You cannot, you'll be hit with all kinds of attacks. You may have to protect yourself. So you have to prepare the ground before you even, try to say, oh, all I have to do is follow the ERC20 and have an ICO and become very rich and what do you call it? Retire to an island in the Pacific with waving coconut palms and sandy beaches.
So said somebody in New York in winter, right? That's your aspiration at the moment.
No, I'm
the Pacific
perfectly
wants to be
fine
in New
here.
York.
I'm perfectly fine here. I'm in the center of the world.
All right, excellent, Vipin, on that. And yeah, and Debbie, obviously you can contribute back. Everyone contributes. So actually, I think we cover all the way from the most kind of business esoteric kind of stuff, all the way down to the nuts and bolts of how to do it, right, and how we can share and get rid of that complexity, right, and so standardize things so we don't all reinvent wheels, right, if we can, right.
Yes.
I'm going to quickly go. Is that Raymond? Do you want to say hello, or Raymond, or Angel, or other Varun? Angel, yes.
Hi, this is Angel. I'm based in Los Angeles, and I'm part of the mortgage subgroup.
All right, cool.
So you guys can find us, and you guys are welcome to join. Everybody's welcome to join. But I just wanted to share a little bit about our experience on the Hyperledger journey. So I highly recommend that you go to the use cases out there. I'll talk one that I'm very familiar with. It's called FabCar, Hyperledger Fabric. It has to do with auto assets. I don't know if anybody's worked on that one in particular, but we chose that one. And we set up a local Hyperledger network. It was 2 nodes, 10 or 12 assets, which were vehicles, and there were some characteristics on those assets, right? And so if you just think about that use case from a generic standpoint, those they were auto assets, but those could be mortgage assets. Those could be, other security assets, right? And so that really helped us to learn how Hyperledger works, how the channels were created, how the nodes are created, how they communicate with each other. And then we started to iterate on top of that, right? So we were mortgage professionals, so then we said, hey, we're not going to call this FabCar anymore. We're going to call this Fab Mortgage, right? And so we changed, instead of having autos, Honda, black, 86, we changed it to a mortgage, $225,000, single family resident, et cetera, So we just started changing the characteristics. And once we started adding our characteristics to that use case, it became more real for us and more user and more functional. And it was really inspiring. It was a success, not just setting up the local environment and setting up the Hyperledger. And when we initialize, when you see the network initialize for the first time and get created, right? This is like the geek in me, right? It's like, oh my God, it worked, right? And then you just start to iterate on top of that. And I just wanted to share that for what it's worth. Start small. That helps you to understand the nuances, the details, the intricacies, the complexities. And then from there, once you know that, once you do it well manually, then you can start to automate, you can start to add UIs to it. And that's what we've done. So now we actually have a POC that is a blockchain-based multi-party POC for home equity lending or personal lending. So we can take a application based on a UI, we can take that data, put it on chain, off chain, we can call third parties for appraisal, title, and other information that we need to be able to underwrite that loan. We can then use smart contracts to determine whether we got the data, whether it meets our underwriting criteria, and we can automate it, and we can automate the approval of a loan, right? And so I wanted to share that for what it's worth, because we started in August. It feels like it might have been 2-3 years, but in the making. But if we look back in a short time, we've iterated from a very basic use case that's available to the entire world for free on Hyperledger, and we now have a POC with the right lending partner and the right partner. This thing could be in production in a few months.
All right, thank you, Angel. That's great information. And just to reiterate, that's you are the subgroup, right? We have two subgroups, right, Bipin? One is insurance and mortgage, right?
Yes, Angel is the fearless leader of the mortgage subgroup.
Excellent.
One of them.
Excellent. So mortgages, obviously, and securitization of mortgages is I was talking, many of the financial crises have appeared because of the lack of transparency. And anyway, mortgages are great. So that's great to hear. I think we're coming to the top of the hour, right? I think.
Yeah, we are already there and past it. But if people want to keep going, I don't think there are any meetings that are going to clash with us. But not too long.
Yeah. So I think we can probably wrap. Does anyone else want to? I think people are going to start dropping off now. So I think that's the call today, right? So it's really just an introduction to the SIG, how you could get involved, right? And it's a call to action. So I think we're going to have other calls, right? Anybody in this time zone who wants to know more, get in touch with me. Let's see how we can contribute. How you can get involved. It's a kind of a call to action, right? There's all the things that we're doing today already. Get involved in the mailing list, and I think we're going to be doing a lot more there as well, right? So Bipin, do you want to add any more to that?
Oh, nothing more.
Karen,
let's keep on carrying on.
Yeah, and thank you. That was a great experience, great share. It was a great group. And thank you all. Take care and keep safe. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Cheers.
Bye.
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 Thanks, everybody.